Well, good to see you guys. Yeah. Make it rounds. Yeah, that's right. I was like, I don't like seeing it. But hey, I love to see it. Yeah. I think I would have come. Kind of one of those things. I could check it. Yeah. Yeah, I'll take that. Well, yeah.
Thanks for that. You please be seated. Good afternoon and welcome to docket number 24-1004, the application of the United Illuminating Company to amend its rate schedule. We're here this afternoon for a scheduling conference in this matter. We have an agenda in front of us today, and we will turn to that in just a moment. The first thing that we have on the agenda for this afternoon is a presentation by the United Illuminating Company. We are not taking this as evidence, so I won't be swearing Mr. Canavan in today, but rather I'll treat it in the spirit of a preview of the presentation that the company will provide to the public comment hearings later this, not this year. I think they have them tentatively scheduled in 2025. After the presentation, we'll review a number of procedural matters, which hopefully do not take a full hour, and then we will adjourn for the day. Attorney Venora, I'll have you introduce your panel, and if you want to enter your appearance for today, and then we'll turn it over to you.
Sure, thank you. Good afternoon. Dan Venora from Keegan Whirling on behalf of the United Illuminating Company. And as you noted, with me today is Mr. Canavan, who's the company's Vice President of Regulatory Affairs, and he's prepared to provide the overview presentation.
Good afternoon, Chair Gillette and Commissioners Karen and Arcante. It's good to see everyone. We all had a nice holiday weekend, and thanks for the opportunity to present an overview of the case this afternoon. We have the slides up. We can move through this. So we prepared the presentation, just as you said, Chair Gillette, to give an overview of the case. It's obviously not going to touch on every detail or every argument that the company may have, but it should give a summary of what the case includes and what we'll be discussing about at length throughout the balance of the docket. So although many of you, I'm sure, are very familiar with the company at this point, if folks are watching online or if they view the presentation on the Pure's website, we always like to ground on who we are and what we do. And United Illuminating Company is a subsidiary of Avangrid. We serve 17 municipalities in the shoreline between New Haven and Bridgeport. We serve approximately 345,000 customers in those towns. And the company has been operating for 100 years and hopefully will be continuing to operate for 100 more. With that, Robin, we can go to the next slide. So our UI rate filing, why are we filing now? And the primary driver of our filing is a significant deficiency in distribution-related operating revenues resulting from the 2022 UI rate case. The revenue deficiency in this case is approximately $105 million incremental revenues that would start on November 1, 2025. Our rate case filing is also coupled with a $40 million interim rate increase filing beginning also on January 1, 2025. Rate increase is necessary to cover the operating costs, support the hundreds of capital projects across UI's service territory. You may be asking, how did we get here? Well, the primary reason is in 2022 rate case, the authority did not allow recovery of approximately $200 million of investments that were currently serving customers, but not reflected in rates. When you combine that with the investments made since the 2022 rate case, UI now has approximately $286 million invested in the system, deployed throughout its service territory, currently serving customers, but are not reflected in rates. And that is a material amount of money for a company the size of UI. Current rates provide UI with insufficient revenues to operate the business and make necessary capital investments going forward. And the current financial condition is neither sustainable nor in the best interests of customers or the state of Connecticut. Therefore, UI is now compelled to file this rate application to obtain sufficient rates to maintain the distribution system. Stepping back, in 2022, we asked for a 3-year rate plan, and this is approximately the last 2 years of the rate case is now in front of you. The $286 million that's invested not in rates, again, is a significant dollar amount for UI. That is going to have to be reflected in rates, and that's the primary driver of this case. And on the current mechanisms, probably all cases going forward. So we filed the rate application on November 12th, 2024, as you all know. And as you are familiar, Pure has a 12-month timeline to review the rate increase. We look forward to that review, which will include discovery, hearings, on-site audits, rebuttal testimony, and the like. So Robin, we can go to the next slide. So the high-level takeaways that the rate case will provide. It'll allow us to maintain safe and reliable service, which is our core function as an electric distribution company in Connecticut. If granted, it'll also allow us to maintain the financial integrity of the company, which is also important, not only for the company, but for customers. Having a financially distressed utility is in the best interest of no one, including customers, the state of Connecticut. And we anticipate that through the dialogue in this case, we'll be able to further describe the financial impacts on the company and how we can together come to a solution going forward. It's going to start with the recovery of the $286 million that UI has invested, currently serving customers, but not yet reflected in rates. But also, hopefully this case will also allow for the recovery of increased costs that are outside the company's control, such as inflationary pressures on its O&M and capital budgets. And you should properly fund the capital program to ensure foundational investments in the electric distribution system going forward. So this is poles, this is transformers, this is the distribution side of substations that all need investment to move forward, all need investment to operate as the state expects our system to operate. And again, will need to be reflected in rates to support that investment. So here are a few of the kind of core elements that we talk about cases. UI's current actual ROE is 3.74 as of Q3 2024. UI's ROE has deteriorated since the last rate case. It has continually gone down quarter over quarter. We expect that to continue through the remainder of this case. Many people say, "What? Just operate your company better. You'll get your allowed ROE," but that math does not pan out. For UI to meet its allowed ROE, it would have to find $37 million of savings, which is a material amount for a company the size of UI. And in fact, UI could lay off every single one of its employees, and it still would not make its allowed ROE. So through this case, we are hoping to get a rate plan. We look forward to a dialogue with the authority to obtain a rate plan that will allow the company to make its allowed ROE and provide sufficient capital to invest in the system. Our request in this case is a 10.5 ROE. When we look at capital structure, our current allowed is 50%. Our requested is 54%. The increase of the ROE and the increase in the capital equity structure are largely driven by what we're seeing in the challenging environment here in Connecticut. We've already talked about the revenue deficiency of $105 million. Key driver we've already noted is the plant additions. Again, 286 in service, but not in rates. We have forecasted approximately $92 million in the interim period before new rates go into effect. And then rate year capital is forecasted to be approximately $110 million. Bill impacts, if granted as filed, have a 10% total bill impact for the average residential customer, or approximately $25 per month. As you all know, our last rate case was the 2208 rate case, which concluded its rate year on August 31st, 2024. The test year for this case is calendar year 2023. We've requested a one-year rate plan, new rates November 1, 25 through October 31, 26. And we've included a number of rate mechanisms that we think work well and continue to pursue in front of the authority. No surprises there. We have only a modest incremental request of 5 FDs in this case. So in this slide, you'll see a number of the proposed investments in our system that I spoke about a minute ago. Customer work, which includes state jobs. This is work that the state of Connecticut is requiring us to do for whatever might be going on in the field to support their customer work. Third-party attachers, which we know are mandated to support our pole plant, and then new customer connections. So that is the core of customer work. System reliability, we have the Old Town substation, at least the D side of that substation would be invested in this case. Like many of our substations, they are ready to be replaced and ready to be upgraded. And Old Town substation is no exception. Splice chamber remediation is approximately $7 million per year. I think if you look on the top right corner, you will see an example of a splice chamber that is in need of upgrade. Many of these splice chambers are 100 years old, and especially in the New Haven, Bridgeport, and Naugatuck Valley area. Pole replacement, we would like to replace poles at $2 to $4 million annually. Given the financial situation of the company, we've curtailed that pole replacement program, but $2 to $4 million is what we would prefer to do on an annual basis to make sure our pole plant is performing well and can support not only our facilities, but attachers facilities as well. System operations, primarily our fleet vehicles, or many of our fleet vehicles are in need of repair or a replacement. And we see a nice fancy line truck here on the bottom right. But these trucks don't last forever, even with a modest amount of investment to maintain them through their life. And we have a number of trucks that need to be restored. And then IT and OT, IT systems, our outage management software is right there at top of mind. We know how important that is for the daily operation of the system, as well as storm events. And then cybersecurity. We've talked a lot about that lately, but we think that is an important aspect of our investments throughout all our companies, especially in today's geopolitical environment. So those are some of the investments you'll find in the case as you all dig in through our filing. Okay, here are our witness panels. Many of these names are well known to the authority at this point. I won't go through all of these in detail, but these are largely the witnesses that you've seen over the last couple of years, with a few minor changes here and there as we bring our witnesses forward to support our case. So that will complete our presentation for today.
Thank you, Mr. Canavan. Okay. We will move into our next agenda item regarding number of procedural matters, as this is a scheduling conference. So hopefully everyone has had a chance to review the external docket schedule that was published a week or two ago now. And I will start by seeing if there are any clarification questions regarding the published external calendar. And if it's a party or intervener who has not entered an appearance, if you have a question, if you could approach the mic and enter your appearance before you pose the question, to the extent that there are any folks with those. So let's start there. Are there any questions, clarification, or otherwise regarding the published docket schedule?
None from the company. We thought this was very clear.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions? Okay. Okay. So the second item, I think we've all been through this in other rate cases. So regarding the hearings, I did want to flag a couple of items that are listed on the agenda. So I think in a previous rate case, we had issued a tentative hearing schedule. And before that, we also issued a procedural order regarding the witness panel and solicited input and provided an opportunity for parties and interveners to talk amongst yourselves and submit comments before we finalize that hearing schedule. So I do want to flag that that's what those two agenda items were. I think the procedural order is on the witness panel is currently scheduled for March 10th. So that will be the opportunity for parties and interveners to review the direction that the authority is planning on for the evidentiary hearings, and there will be an opportunity to comment on that after talking to each other. So just want to make sure that that's clear. We do intend to abide by the hearing schedule once it is published. We are going to stick to the schedule of trying to convene the evidentiary hearings no later than 10 a.m. In the morning. And we will aim for a close between 5 and 5:30 with a morning break, an afternoon break, and then the lunch break. I do think that we had been targeting a 45-minute lunch break in the more recent rate cases. So we'll do our best to target between 40, 45 minutes, whatever keeps us on schedule for the day. And again, we'll try to target a 5 to 5:30 wrap up. If we're near the end of a witness, we'll try to get them cleared out for that day. Other expectations for hearings. We'll have our court reporter with us. We will be broadcasting on YouTube. And consistent with previous hearings, if there are exhibits that you want to refer to in cross, we ask that those be put onto a USB and provided to the case coordinator to facilitate the display of those items. And that's guidance that we ask all parties and interveners to abide by, so we're not having to switch in and out of different logins on the computer. Anything else? I think it's good. Okay, any questions on that material? Okay, motions in the dispute resolution process. I think we have replicated the language in the notice of proceeding that we've used for the past several rate cases, but I will pause and see if there were any questions or comments on that language.
Chair Gillette, the company had just a couple minor questions for clarifications that it put into a motion on procedural steps. One is relating to, it's relating to motions for protective order, and then one relates to PDF compilations, and then there's two other issues in that notice, but that relates to that. I don't have any other comments beyond what we put into that note, into that motion.
Very good. Thank you for raising that. I believe that was motion number 8. And I had the two other items in that motion were the witness panel order and the written exception deadline request.
Right.
I think I was intending to address the witness panel portion of that motion. We will issue a written ruling. I was intending to address that a few moments ago by clarifying that the March 10th procedural order will permit parties and interveners to file a preferred witness panel order. So that the first two items on the submission of the PDF compilations and the motions for protective order, I believe the intent is to grant those as the company noted. That's similar to the request we granted in 23-1102, but we will issue written clarification on those two items.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else with questions on motions or dispute resolution process? Okay, all right. Okay. Very good. Are there any other procedural matters that we have not entertained so far? North. Any other party? Nope. Okay. I believe that completes our agenda in 16 minutes. So last call for anything before we adjourn. Okay, very good. Then we will proceed to adjournment. We will issue a written ruling on motion number 8. I'm sorry, did any other party or intervener intend to comment on motion 8 here or in writing before the authority proceeds to rule on it? No? Okay. All right, very good. Then we will work on a written ruling regarding that motion. And then the next time that we will see each other in this docket will not be for quite a while. But we do have public comment hearings starting in the new year. So we will see folks at that first public comment hearing. So if there's nothing further, thank you for everyone attending today, and I believe we can adjourn.
Thank you.